This is an Audio Wool original.
It is Frightday. I'm your host, Byron. We're broadcasting live from our... Well, it was buried when I wrote this script. That's funny. Now we've got a flood warning, so it's a little...
Do we really have a flood warning?
Yeah,
Is it supposed to heat up that much?
It's about 50 in 4 days. Yeah.
Oh, wow. No, we need to hold that water longer because we don't have firefighters.
And tonight, the moment y'all been waiting for, almost as long as you've been waiting for the final round of Monster Madness to determine the best cryptid. Kelly.
I did that.
It's almost March, and you didn't do it.
I did.
We didn't wrap it up. You never did that. But
I sent you a voice memo.
audio, photo, interviews, all the eyewitness testimony you can carry. Well, not all of it, because tonight, Kelly's going to present you with more of that, as well as her final theory and personal beliefs on what the hell happened in that hotel pantry in 1968. It's the assassination of RFK, Part 5 in this week's edition of Kelly's Cryptids and Kennedy's. I'm joined tonight by Kelly.
Oh, hi. So I think that I need to be able to see what I look like as easily as you get to see what you look like.
Okay. Are we going to beef now, Kelly?
No.
I'm doing 3 jobs.
Can I set up like a... I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up a mirror.
What?
I'm going to attach a mirror to that camera so I can see what I look like.
You don't need to do that. I am doing not only audio.
I'm doing this now too, remember?
I'm hosting and I'm doing video switching.
David Dust Mulchian.
Kelly's got the soundboard. Not yet, actually.
Wait, no, you said I could...
I would, but I have to lead you in and then I'll hand you, because it's a different screen here on the board.
Fine.
You've been gone a while. Isn't it surprising? I don't think we've done an episode since you returned from Disney.
Oh, man. It was a better place
The
there.
Magic Kingdom.
Not Florida.
Yeah,
just the Magic Kingdom.
Well, now we're at Kingdom. I don't know if you saw that, the new Donald Trump fake Time magazine picture that he made.
Oh, because he's a king now.
Yeah, where he's got the crown.
King of the castle.
That's kind of cool, don't you think?
No, I love it. I've always wanted to live in a monarchy.
Now we need to
at
be
least monarchy is supposed to have like some history attached to it.
There's like cool benefits, like horses that bite people and stuff. Like that's
yeah,
cool.
and like what is it? You have really bad genetic blood diseases because of
only
inbreeding.
They do. And okay, well, that'll take a while.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, welcome back, I guess.
Thanks.
We're back in the saddle, and we're going to wrap up this dang thing. But before we do, just a quick reminder that this is a live program that you can watch at live.frightday.com.
Yes.
I believe we're getting back to regularly scheduled recordings of
we were actually
Tuesdays,
live
right?
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
We just were, I was having a crisis.
A little meltdown, yeah. And I think that, I don't know if we are going to maybe I'll put the whole meltdown up on for the Frightday Society.
I'm fine if you do that.
I mean, it was not bad. We were just kind of working through.
I'm bouncing back and forth between, like, I can handle this and I'm having an existential crisis.
It's for the Frightday Society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally constructing a letter to my therapist, my psychiatrist, asking...
Our mutual psychiatrist.
Right, asking for how much he can prescribe. I know that there's a limit to how much my insurance will pay for, but of my medication, because I'm fairly certain that the son of my subject tonight is going to take away my medicine.
Well, we shouldn't have it.
Okay, you were hot. That was Kelly level hot right there.
No, but I backed up. I hope it wasn't too loud for the listener.
Okay.
It's very rare that I do get loud.
I know. I was surprised. That's why I said it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to decalcifying my pineal gland and opening up my third eye and finally seeing what
See, I'm fine with that as long as I can still take my medicine. I'm good.
Well, that's what's blocking your pineal. That and the calcium in the water.
I said it was the fluoride in the water.
Thank
it's the
you.
fluoride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fluoride. Great.
Yep.
Things are good. Hope everyone's doing well. I was saying that this is a live program, and that means that you can give us a call on the phone here.
Call 1-833-374-4489.
Leave us a message and we can talk about whatever you'd like to on this little show of ours. We do that more frequently on Casual Frightday. Hope you've been enjoying those while Kelly was on vacation. And Kelly, you were actually on the last episode, which was kind of interesting. I hope we didn't doom you out too much.
Only a little bit.
Only a wee bit of ruining.
It was okay. It actually wasn't that bad. I think that maybe I just felt sorry for the people I wasn't supposed to feel sorry for. You should give me better notes.
Well, you shouldn't have to tell you who you should be sympathetic towards. The guy that was jacking off in a drive-thru.
Well, no, I was sympathetic for him being suicided, not for...
Yeah, dying by suicide. Yeah, that's not good. No one likes that.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was very unkind.
Well, he shouldn't have been doing that, but that's for another day, I suppose, Kelly. Big news. I'm not going to South by Southwest, but...
You're doing something way cooler.
Well, we are.
With me.
Yeah. In June, we are going to be attending a little... something that... This has been on our radar for a very long time. Very excited to announce right now. We're going to be at Contact in the Desert, which is in the desert, the Coachella Valley, California desert, at the lovely Renaissance Resort, and very excited, Kelly. I don't know how long this has been going on.
A long time.
Yeah, but it is like the largest gathering of like-minded individuals if your mind is like Kelly's.
Okay, so that isn't fair.
What?
There are very many... There are a lot of different perspectives represented there, and some of them are science and some of them are woo, and I'm excited to hear all of them, but I do not share all of them.
The cross-section of science and woo. That's Kelly. That's how we pitched the new show. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Had you not seen that already?
I didn't know. Listen, I booked this without even knowing the full...
Okay, well, because I already emailed our contact to set up a specific interview between you and me.
Me and David?
I'm not doing it. It's you.
I hate that guy. Like, I hate him.
I know.
He's a bad man.
Go in
David
with empathy.
Pilates.
This will be good for you. You're always talking to me about empathy.
Maybe. There's 4 different passes. If you want to come experience this with us, I think we have a promo code we can share, right?
We do. Frightday.
You should say it louder instead of whispering.
No, people, this is what I've learned. When you're typically loud, people listen more when you whisper.
But it's different when it's an audio medium, I guess.
Fright 10.
Fright 10 is the promo code. Great. Sorry for policing the way you talk, but look at the meals you can get. You can get meal packages. Chopped looks like mango.
I think it's cheese.
You think that's cheese and that's meat?
It's slightly moist cheese.
It is a delicious catered meal.
It also could be butternut squash.
Great. So
we should take a vote. Anybody that can see that, I want votes on whether it's butternut squash, cheese, or mango.
Wow. And yeah, I guess you can watch this at youtube.com/Frightday. 3 meals a day for $95. Are we doing that?
I'll do 2.
Okay.
Do I get prime rib?
No. This is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of really...
You should read some reviews from previous years about whether the food's any good.
I don't know if I care too much about the food part. I do.
About whether we buy the meals or not.
I think we'll probably just get room service at the end of the day and eat once, and also go to a grocery store.
I was going to say, can we go to Whole Foods? I get so excited when we get to go to Whole Foods.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, probably. I imagine there's a Whole Foods near the Coachella Valley, but I'm very much looking forward to that. Also, big announcement coming soon for something in the month of April, but we're not going to talk too much about that because this has been enough housekeeping for me. Other than, I guess we could do our final call.
David Dastmalchian.
You really like that button. Final call for the...
You want me to put it on? I can put it on for my report. Here, I'll put it on for my report.
No, don't do that. The Assassination of RFK t-shirt at shop.frightday.com. Don't wear it. Yeah.
Why? I want to wear it. Why can't I wear it?
It exists. It's wonderful because... remember how I told you we're using clips for TikTok and...
You don't think that's a good one to
clip? I think putting on a large t-shirt over top of your sweater is not going to look good.
So you guys, Byron's telling me that I look fat.
I didn't say that. I just said that it wouldn't look good. I don't think the styling... Great. Let's wrap this whole thing up.
Kelly's Cryptids and Kennedy's.
Who's going to be the next president of the United States?
Who should have been?
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. God. guys, this has been quite a journey. Really, one of my favorite things about being part of this podcast is how many things I've learned over the years, how many opinions of mine have shifted. In fact, Byron, we've been talking about a topic we're going to cover soon that is more in the category of news convincing me something was going on when in fact a different thing was going on. Truth or fake news, I feel like applies to a number of topics that we cover. But the current events in our country, when we started this report, and what those events have rolled into as we wrap it up, just drive home the incredible importance of what happened on the evening of June 4th, 1968. And I hope that our last episode tonight really pays tribute to a man we really needed but clearly didn't deserve, Robert F. Kennedy Sr., to be very clear. His son was recently confirmed as
confirmed
the
cool as hell and saving America.
Emperor of destroying all SSRIs.
The king of food.
Have you seen the photos? Oh, I sent you one. Some great photos of, Russell Brand and Dr. Oz shirtless and
I did see
RFK
that one.
with a lizard.
He does like animals, and I have seen him. Remember he had the praying mantis that he was like pals with.
I love that. Like,
he's a falconer too, but he keeps all the gross dead bodies in his fridge, and that's kind of foul behavior.
His love of animals is one of my favorite things about him, but his cousin Caroline tried to inform everybody what a bad idea this was. So we'll see what happens. Maybe he'll try to take Elon's ketamine away, and then we'll be free of him. In the meantime, you guys, tonight we've got some ends to tie up, and as Byron indicated, I would like to talk to you guys both about the different scenarios the data points to in this case, and my hypothesis based on both what I've read and my gut instinct, like it or not. Oh, right, I get buttons. I get buttons.
Yeah,
I get buttons, thank you.
Should I keep this music going?
No, we don't need music.
Okay, I'll just cut
the music.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was adding some intensity, but...
No, I don't need intensity.
No, it's intense enough.
Don't need intensity. I'm intense.
All right.
You guys, one of the items that we just aren't going to have time to go into, also I think it's an easy one for us to save as an extra add-on some point later this year, maybe behind the screams, but the connection between Sirhan and MK Ultra is by no means proven. It is suggested in a number of cases, and the fact that there was testing for MK Ultra going on in the geographic area that both Sirhan was working when he was sadly not becoming a jockey, but working in other capacities at these racetracks.
What do you think he would have been doing if he didn't fall off that horse?
I mean, I actually don't, from what I read, I don't know that he was on track to be a good jockey anyway.
I mean, he's small.
Right.
He's got that, right?
That's like saying because somebody's tall, they're good at basketball. Yeah. I mean, I think that he liked the idea of it, and he liked hanging out there. I think a big part of it, though, was...
jockey culture.
Well, right. See, and I can't help but think about the Always Sunny episode where Charlie does a bunch of drugs with a jockey.
What?
At the country club.
I feel like I missed like 3 seasons.
Yeah, you need to rewatch all of them. I have them all memorized now, but I think he liked belonging. So I think he liked being at these racetracks and meeting all the cool gangsters and women who showed up, and there were really lots of pretty ladies. And I think he wanted to be a jockey, but I don't know that he was as dedicated to it as some of the reports lend themselves to. It makes for a really good story, but I don't think he was ever particularly good. He did fit in there, and he felt accepted, and that was important. I think he also felt accepted in some capacities with groups that were doing some hypnotism research.
Devil worshippers.
Yeah, I don't think they were. However, there are indications that there are connections between theosophy, as in Helena Blavatsky, and Sirhan, and some groups that he was seeing. He went to one He's only proven to have gone to one meeting of the Rosicrucians, which is another,
But wasn't everyone kind of fucking around like that?
It was the 60s. Everybody was fucking around.
My mom had a copy of Dianetics,
Right. And I think he especially was dabbling because he was looking for somewhere to belong.
Sure.
And
my mom was a Scientologist too.
I mean, that's okay.
She was part of the Sea Org.
Cool.
Yeah.
How'd she get out?
She's still there.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
She seems so normal.
Oh, you're talking about my stepmom. Oh. Yeah.
What's your real mom's name?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. I'm going to call Nancy and ask her about that tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
There was a lot of MK Ultra experimentation going on, and it was in these areas that they used to pull people. Obviously, we know they were getting people from our prison system. We know they were getting unhoused people. We know that they were getting people with significant mental disorders, people who had been committed to various mental facilities and weren't being tracked very closely by their family. They also were looking at some of these kind of fringe groups where perhaps there were people that were already doing some mind-altering things, and jumping in and doing research on them helped a different angle of the research that they were conducting. So the episode that I'd like to cover at some point, Byron, is talking about, I don't know if you remember this, but the Camerons and how that...
The Cameron brothers?
The Cameron brothers, and how their father was the head scientist from a medical standpoint behind all of the MK Ultra research, and how that then connects to some of the things going on in California, that there are plenty of threads indicating the possibility of connection with Sirhan. I think we are now in the realm with the Sirhan dangling pieces. I don't know that we will ever be able to prove anything unless there are some significant developments in like time travel. But I think we are in a place where the best we can do is look at the data as a whole and then, think about what that data does or doesn't contribute to various hypotheses.
Got a little confirmation about what the 60s were like from AB in the chat. 60s, you grew your hair long, smoked weed, and went to various groups to pick up chicks.
Yeah, and if you were kind of a socially awkward Christian Palestinian who was living in and out of his home, had failed to make it as a jockey, and was mourning the death of a sibling, also experiencing some significant PTSD from living in a war zone, who the fuck knows what different forms that may have taken.
Yeah.
So, I just want to put a pin in the Vacaville because that is an area in California, Vacaville prison, where a lot of the tests were conducted, and this area in general had a lot of MK Ultra action going on. So we're going to revisit it in more detail in a separate episode, but I just want everybody to kind of have that in the back of their head as we close in on some data.
Seems as if you're setting up some sympathy for this Sirhan guy.
Well, my thing now, Byron, is I've got more sympathy for everyone than I used to have.
Ooh.
And
Can't say I don't like that.
Yeah, well, there are exceptions, just very few. Yeah, I think that Sirhan very well could have been involved in some of this. Hypnotism is another piece that I have learned a lot about in this investigation. I went in fairly judgmental about hypnotism and its lack of scientific founding. I actually have a friend who I know had some hypnosis therapy when she was younger and has spoken very positively about it. I, to be honest, assumed that it was more in the realm of, let's say, therapy versus psychiatry. Mm-hmm. Okay, if that makes sense. And that's just like such a judgy binary to put things in. But, there are things that medical doctors are willing to put their stamp on for better or for worse, and things that they aren't. And I've always thought that hypnotism was in the category of things that they aren't. Are you trying to hypnotize me right now?
Well,
Are you
I'm
going to see if that works?
hypnotizing everyone, technically.
Okay.
It's just kind of going there.
I mean, does that make you feel nauseous?
Makes me feel really sick. Like
Makes
I'm
me feel-
staring at like an Animal Collective album cover or something.
I'm gonna puke.
Yeah,
I'm gonna puke.
I'll stop it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, it turns out that this is another thing I was wrong about. There is a lot of scientific standing for hypnosis and also for persuasive coercion. Okay.
That's like an appropriate.
Right. No, it is. So it's basically
coercion. Coercion,
like,
yeah.
You can convince people to do things. The big hard line that I saw discussed over and over again in literature surrounding Sirhan, whether he could have been hypnotized to do what he did, because over and over again he says he doesn't remember it. He remembers the day, he doesn't remember this event, and kind of just remembers coming to after it. Now, that by no means proves that he was hypnotized when he did it. Could be all sorts of reasons for that, or he could be lying too. Like, who the hell knows?
Probably lying.
Well, okay, so for...
That was
So there was a Harvard med school professor whose specialty was forensic psychiatry and hypnosis. So again, this is the doctor side of things, if you care. Some people don't draw that binary, but like for people who care, the doctor side of things, not the therapist side of things. And he wrote a really long sworn statement, an affidavit, in the appeal that Sirhan and his lawyers filed in 2011. And in this affidavit, he said he had spent more than 60 hours directly with Sirhan, interviewing him, running his clinical examinations on him, and said he concluded that, quote, Sirhan did not act under his own volition and knowledge at the time of the assassination and is not responsible for actions coerced and or carried out by others. Brown actually said in this affidavit that Sirhan was a, quote, true Manchurian candidate.
But would that apply to anyone who's been hypnotically coerced? Like,
Would you, like, Manchurian candidate?
No. I mean, he said he's not responsible for the things that he does.
Oh, so if you can, I think this comes into play with different cults and what is the phrase? I don't Stockholm syndrome scenarios, sure, where if it can be shown that you were essentially
in a crime or
abused into assisting with a crime or brainwashed into assisting with a crime, there is certainly less culpability, sure, than there is if you are the one who is running the show, right?
So, I mean, coercion, but maybe not always hypnotically. Of course.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
He does say, though, I've written 4 textbooks on hypnosis and have hypnotized over 6,000 individuals over a 40-year professional career. Sirhan is one of the most hypnotizable individuals I have ever met, and the magnitude of his amnesia for actions under hypnosis is extreme.
So what are they calling him? Like, is that rude to say?
No, I mean...
say, like, you're the most it's like saying, like, someone's, like, the most gullible, but, like...
I think it's just most malleable.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
But like, a strong-willed individual is like a...
You know what's funny, though? I think a lot of people would describe me as strong-willed.
But you're very gullible and
very, like,
convinced.
And I
Convincible?
think...
That's not a word.
Yeah, I think the way that my
like a
brain
Sarah
works...
Bareilles song.
True. But I think we've talked about this. I think I could be hypnotized very easily. Sam has been at some of those, like, fun stage hypnotism shows, and, you know, where everybody else was hypnotized and he felt nothing. He did nothing. Right.
Well, but
because he's just a stubborn...
You know, he would actively be doing that to prove a point. So maybe you have to be open right?
Well, that's another.
There's always those like Vegas bits that where they're like,
Right.
oh, you think you can't, you
Well,
think
and the
nothing's
hypothesis-
happening, and they're like, well, then stop walking, and then they go,
Right, and they're like,
oh,
Right.
can't
yeah.
move my feet.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think Sam could ever be one of those. It bums me out. It's really
because
hard to talk him
he
into
would feel too
anything.
embarrassed or sad for them. He's got something inside of him that's like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, right?
No. I mean, like,
You don't think he would volunteer to be on stage?
no, I think that no matter what somebody did, I don't think they could hypnotize him to
Really?
do something.
Oh.
I don't think he is like, he's so. Maybe it is because he believes in none of it.
Yeah.
That it creates like this incredible impermeable wall. And because I believe in the possibility of so many things, my wall doesn't even exist.
Great
But
comment
this guy-
here. Police interrogation is all about coercive persuasion.
So true. I
They
can't
went
wait.
from
Wait till you hear what we have to talk about soon.
Phone books, rubber hoses, and brass knuckles under hot, bright lights to keeping you awake, locked in a room, telling you that you have that they have proof that you're guilty.
Yep.
And I think most of the time, police
You know
can
who really
actually
did that was
tell
the
you-
LAPD. Huh.
Well, yes, they did, but
Yeah.
I like them, and I back the blue, of course.
I know. I was re-listening to some episodes. It certainly sounds like that. I was going to check your car for a bumper sticker, in fact, when I pulled up tonight.
Well, it's magnetic, and I take it in at night because I respect
smart.
it.
That's
I
smart.
don't want people to fuck with my
No,
shit.
you definitely
All
don't.
these kids.
You don't.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But this guy, medical doctor, has made his career in this and said very clearly he is very susceptible. He does not think that he acted of his own volition that night. And he actually continued after that affidavit. He interviewed and worked with Sirhan for another 60 hours and says his conclusions have only been further reinforced. So
Is 60 hours like a...
60 clinical hours.
Is that like that's like an amount that people use in like research?
60 clinical hours with one patient is huge.
Is that like a Hugh Grant movie?
I mean,
60 clinical hours?
so think about it in terms of our shrink. 60 clinical hours would be about a year and a half.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because you figure like weeks off and whatever, it's like a year and a half with him.
You get weeks off? He makes me go with him on trips.
Oh, I wish I would. I've tried to what about Bob him, but yeah. Yeah, so who knows? But it seems like, again, from professional opinion, he is a person who could be hypnotized to doing some pretty crazy things. I saw over and over again in the literature that hypnosis only works within the realm of what somebody feels they would otherwise do. Like, they're not going to do something that they view as completely immoral.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
But what different records, the few that remain from MK Ultra, have indicated in their attempts to brainwash people and hypnotize people in some of the MK Ultra experiments, they would get around this by giving somebody a reason to believe what they were doing was ethical. For example, if they were trying to say, Kelly, you need to go kill Byron, and conscious me said, no, I would never do that.
Thank goodness.
Right? Like, that's against my morals. Byron hasn't done anything that bad.
I mean, I've done some bad stuff. What
But
would I
if
have
they
to do?
convinced me that Byron, in fact, was killing,
Your family.
right, was killing small children, right, and gathering their bodies in his backyard. And under hypnosis, because I am easily persuaded and easily coerced, I would believe that. And once I believed that, then killing Byron no longer violates my ethical code.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the theory about what could have happened, again, if this is indeed what happened with Sirhan. Witnesses, as one of our listeners just brought up, which is one of my favorite things to discuss. Byron, I sent you a message. You can post this in the show notes of the episode at Frightday.com, of course. It is a giant PDF labeled Appendix E, and it goes through all of the recorded witnesses in this case, who at least have a statement that was maintained on record. And if you read through this, the number of witnesses who were formally put on record is pretty astronomical. A lot of these witnesses were treated like suspects, not because they actually were, suspects, but rather because the police made it very clear that they wanted incredibly specific statements and would not let a witness go until they molded the statement they were willing to give into exactly what the police were asking for.
I think we have an example of that. Are we going to play that now?
We are. We're going to play a clip. And so this is Hank Hernandez, who was one of the detectives that was most critiqued for this practice during the review of some of the RFK assassination trial information after the fact. And he is interviewing, quote unquote interviewing. Really what he's doing is interrogating for an incredibly long period of time in an incredibly cruel way. A woman named, a woman who was a campaign volunteer. Just to give you a little bit of background on this woman, because not only am I impressed by her resilience in this interview, and keep in mind it is cut significantly because the interview went on for hours.
It's like 2 or 3 hours, right?
Yeah. And as one of our listeners was just typing in the chat, the idea of these bright lights and bullying and not letting people leave the room, she was treated really horribly, and she did not back down until, and even at the end, I wouldn't even say that she backed down, but at the very end, she finally said, I don't know, fine, like maybe I don't even remember what happened, right? And this is a pattern that you see in police interrogation pretty frequently. What is a little bit weird is you normally see that in interrogation of suspects, not in
witnesses.
Interrogation of witnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. This woman was, as I said, a young campaign volunteer, and she had come on to Kennedy's campaign in a more dedicated fashion than a lot of other people. She came to volunteer one day and was told that she couldn't volunteer because the volunteer positions were reserved for full-time students. And she was only a part-time student because she was she was working full-time while attending school part-time. And she basically said, no, this really matters to me. I really want to be a part of this, and was persistent until she got the position. She's also a person of color.
What's her name one more time?
Rosa Hernandez.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Oh my gosh. His last name is Hernandez. Her name is Rosa Serrano.
Serrano.
Serrano. Yep. And even in this interview, the way she stands up for herself, I'm thinking person of color, 1960s, bullied by this police officer in a situation that is, I'm sure, really frightening to begin with. She's kind of a badass. So let's listen to a very abbreviated version of how that went down.
You're an Italian young girl, and you know that for some reason this was made up. So here's what you have to think about right now.
Okay, my apologies. I forgot a really important part that I need to tell you guys. So she was one of the core witnesses that said she saw a woman in a polka dot dress. And it was right after the shooting, though she did not know the shooting had taken place because she wasn't in the pantry. She was sitting outside on a fire escape set of stairs, and she sees this couple, woman in a polka dot dress and another man, come tearing down the fire escape stairs saying, "We got him." And she has no idea what they're talking about at this time because she doesn't know what's happened. And she says, "Got who?" And the woman says, "Bobby Kennedy." And so this is the report she's given. And Hernandez is telling her...
This is where I say that we could be misunderstood as a lot of different things. Or they, in the moment of panic. I wouldn't hold too much to the polka dot dress person saying we.
I know. And if you guys want to look at the document that's in the show notes, there are multiple other people who speak about the polka dot dress woman.
That is true.
And hearing this same phrase uttered, there's actually an older couple in the parking lot who says these two individuals yelled the same thing as they ran by them.
I'm not debating that they yelled that.
No. And it was like both the speech and the action was, "We're running away. We got him." Like literally, we are escaping the scene of the crime. We have just killed Kennedy.
They didn't say that.
They said, "We got him.
Yeah, and that could be a lot of different things.
Okay, within the 30 seconds...
You just have to assume that...
But Byron, within the 30 seconds that he had been shot, two people saying, we got him, we got Bobby Kennedy.
And were they interviewed before or after they found out that he actually was shot?
Was who interviewed?
These witnesses, which would be after. So then you take the thing that did happen and you apply what you thought you heard. You see what I'm saying?
You sound a lot like Hernandez.
All right.
I'm going to tell you that.
That's not fair to say.
You're an Italian young girl. You know that for some reason this was made up. So here's what you have to think about right now is that I think you owe it to Senator Kennedy, the late Senator Kennedy, to come forth, be a woman about this. If he, and you don't know, and I don't know whether he's a witness right now in this room watching what we're doing in here, don't shame his death by keeping this thing up. I have compassion for you. I want to know why. I want to know why you did what you did. This is a very serious thing.
So he's saying, first of all, he's assuming that she's Catholic because she's Hispanic, and he's literally trying to manipulate her using religion. I don't know whether he's a witness in the room right now, he being RFK, watching what we're doing. He's using that even as shame. Like, I think he says, don't shame his memory or don't something to his memory.
Yeah.
He says, for whatever reason, you made this up. He is telling her to be a woman because she is sullying his memory by saying that these two people ran by saying, we got him, immediately after Bobby Kennedy had been killed. And so it's not even as though he's saying, okay, think really carefully. What did you hear? What did this sound like? What was the circumstance? What was going?
When is also a good.
Well, it was within 30 seconds of the actual shooting.
Okay.
So what he's doing here is telling her that what she has said and what she's written is not acceptable, and he's not going to accept that statement. And so he continues for hours to berate her.
Police always like to say, do you believe in God? And then they always, like, in interrogations, they tend to. I
mean, good Lord, I hope that isn't always. Jesus
it happens
fucking
all the time.
Christ, I hope that somebody in this country is doing something ethical.
Usually it's trying to get people to confess to things.
Right, like this is
a witness.
This is a witness.
Very different.
No, Sandy. Remember what I told you about that? You can't say you saw something when you didn't see it. Sandy, look, I can explain this to the investigators where you don't even have to talk to them, and they won't talk to you. I can do this. But I know that as you get older, one of these days you're going to be a mother. You're going to be a mother, you're going to have kids, and you know that you can't live a life of shame knowing.
So he's talking about her and her maternal instincts and the idea that she might be a mother someday, and she couldn't possibly live with the shame of putting this story on record. And she just keeps saying over and over again, that's what they said. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
And he, like, every disgusting approach you could possibly take to getting somebody to tell a specific story that has nothing to do with what they actually saw. Like, he's not unpacking or looking for things she may have misinterpreted.
Yeah.
He's just telling her, no, you can't say that.
I just want to further state myself for myself on the record, like this is insane behavior on the side of the police. But me saying that people interpreting something that was heard
totally
before a major event and then looking with the context of that event and the statement in hindsight, applying that and making
all of this happen.
I heard them say this.
Right, but all of this, I think the reason I keep butting up against that is all of this happened in the same moment, and she was interviewed
with
like that day,
also saying the same thing.
Right.
Okay.
And so I agree,
but I just don't want you to say that I have a Blue Lives Matter bumper sticker.
Okay, which is good. I'm glad.
I have all of them, the collection. Red,
there are
blue.
some wonderful, incredible police officers out there, and unfortunately, we have a policing system that has allowed this kind of shit to happen way too frequently.
It's disappointing.
Yep.
No, Sandy, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I want you to tell me the truth about the staircase. Nobody in that staircase, what you're telling me here, told you that we had shot Kennedy.
A woman told me we had shot Kennedy.
Where did she tell you this?
Outside.
Outside where?
A police is all on the staircase.
He literally did say, I will
Like, I'll
take the words out of your mouth.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I will.
I'll tell them.
I've got this big white adult male. Well,
Right.
actually, I don't know. It's Hernandez, right?
He's a person of color too.
Yeah.
Which is also, the whole thing. And this is just the example that we're pointing to because A, it's pretty egregious, and B, it's indicative of things that happened at multiple points. I mean, there were witnesses who saw at the shooting range. In that same list, you'll see witnesses who saw Sirhan talking to a woman who was with him at the shooting range, and that was never discussed. The people who bought bullets with him, the people who were shooting guns with him in the woods. Like, all of this, again, goes to there's no way. It's kind of like the Oswald thing, right? Oswald was
will probably be
present when Kennedy
about.
was killed. The idea that he was doing it alone is ridiculous. And the
Is that
idea
where we landed on that?
I mean, it is.
I need to re-listen to her whole
You should, because I think even you landed there. Sam did, I know.
Well, it sounds like... Well, it's just because I don't want to believe that dumb press secretary
I know,
saying-
it's really fucking awful when awful people believe some of the things that I believe, but you know what? Like, they also drink water and breathe air, so it's okay. We have things in common.
Hitler also... That's the excuse all my weird dummies say all the time.
I like to do arts and crafts projects, and so did Hitler.
All
So,
right, well,
whatever. So yeah, the witness bullying was really horrific. And witnesses are one of our pieces of evidence, right? Certainly data that is gathered in trying to figure out exactly what happened that night. The other piece, we talked about a bit, bullets, okay? We have 3 bullets that were in Kennedy, 1 that went through Kennedy. Oh no, Byron's pulling up
No,
his
I was
list.
just pulling up some images.
Okay. And then we have 5 other people that were injured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so at that point, we do have 9 shots, unless we've got a magic double bullet, like is discussed in
Bullets are magical.
JFK. Yep,
They
they're
really
super
are.
magical.
Like-
And then we have the bullet holes that FBI evidence photos show in the door frame and ceiling, literally circled and marked as bullet
Here
holes.
we go. This is where we got heated last time.
This is going to be really fun because I actually looked a couple things up for you. The door
thank you.
frame and ceiling tiles were removed within 24 hours of the event. So again,
probably had
even if
another
we're just
event
talking
there
about
that they
the
had to-
people, no, they did, there was not. Oh my God,
Come
are you fucking
on.
kidding me? Nothing happened in this place for.
Probably ever.
So we have 9 bullets before we're even talking about Kelly's bullet holes in the walls, okay, or the door frames. We have 9 bullets. Then we get to the bullet holes in the door frames and the ceiling. The door frame and ceiling tiles were removed within 24 hours of the event. And there, I can send you like 10 more photos. That's just some of them.
I don't need you to send me 10. I'm
Well,
just showing
because
one on the screen.
one of them, but there are photos in other places too. Those
Yeah,
weren't the
I'm
only
aware.
ones.
I
right?
see them.
So it seems logical that those things would be removed, as they would be important evidence for the trial. In fact, I did some quick case law research, Byron, and it has been ruled in multiple Supreme Court cases that the willful destruction of evidence by law enforcement violates the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
Well, that doesn't matter anymore.
Well, but it did.
Yeah, I guess.
It did.
I guess.
And there is a distinction. There's a difference between failure to preserve, such as the case of Youngblood versus Arizona in 1988. And so this was a case where a man was accused of molesting a child, and there was semen found in the child's clothing, and the police did not preserve it correctly. Okay, so they didn't like burn the clothing,
Yeah.
but they didn't preserve it correctly, so the semen couldn't be tested conclusively. All right, so that is a failure to preserve, right?
What year was this?
88.
88.
That's a failure to preserve,
Yeah.
but willful destruction is a completely different thing. So when it comes to a failure to preserve, it has to be proven that they acted with malice in their failure to preserve.
Not in negligence.
Right, not in negligence. But when something is actually destroyed, it is immediately classified.
As destroyed.
Yep, and so it falls into a violation of the 14th Amendment then. In Montana, for example, Byron, in order to destroy evidence attached to any case, a prosecutor has to file a petition with the court to have it destroyed. So just to be supremely clear, it is insane that these ceiling panels and door frames were destroyed before the trial even took place. It's also insane that the quote-unquote defense attorney did not even raise this as an issue in the court.
I have a newfound frustration surrounding evidence collection after watching that new Netflix documentary about O.J. Simpson.
Oh, I haven't seen that. God.
I feel like I've heard that from a lot of people who I've talked about this with. They're like, oh, I'm OJ'd out. I've heard this story.
Maybe there's good stuff, though.
There is actually some kind of interesting stuff at the beginning surrounding evidence that was not collected from the scene, which is really interesting. There's like...
Really?
Yeah, stuff like in his clothing in the house.
What police department did that happen with?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah?
I actually know exactly the one.
That's
and
so fucking weird.
Proven racist, too.
So
remember?
weird.
That was the guy who was on tape saying the N-word a bunch that kind of ruined the whole case. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to blame just him too.
Practices or long-standing biases or racism or
yeah.
I mean, that was just like a one-off thing, right?
Oh, totally, just a one-off.
Yeah. Otherwise, that department's really pretty
corrupt.
Great.
I would say, yeah. Clearly, if it was not just a one-off.
Yeah. Oh God.
But no, it was interesting. There's a ton of laundry. There's a ton of blood splatter on the outside of the car of the Bronco that wasn't taken the night of. Like all these different things.
Oh.
It's really kind of frustrating, but.
Oh.
Cool to have an example of like a clear example of when evidence wasn't collected and the effect it had on the case, And also you have to remember not everything can be brought to a trial because you kind of
bullet holes are important.
That seems like it.
Ceiling tiles where bullets were entered.
Well, but the thing is
door jams with bullets.
You risk like exhausting your jury by presenting too much evidence.
It was one of the quickest trials in the history of criminal proceedings in the state of California.
And arguably successful because the guy who shot a gun is in jail for it.
I would say arguably a complete miscarriage of justice, if only for the fact that even if you think he did it, like the defense, he did not get a defense. The defense raised nothing. And for that to be the case... We've got more.
I know
we've got more.
I know we're not there yet.
So we're still on our list of evidence data. Okay, so we also now
fix this fucking chair.
It is a bit squeaky.
Yeah, it wasn't when I got it.
Okay.
I feel like I have to does anyone have any tips?
WD-40.
You think that would do it?
That's the only tip I have. You asked if I had tips. That's the only one I got.
I feel like I need to tighten it down with an Allen wrench or something.
Maybe try both.
Why not both?
Autopsy reports are another bit of evidence. So...
We're talking Coroner to the Stars?
Coroner to the Stars told us...
I have his phone number. Should we call him now?
Maybe not now.
I think it's 8 o'clock in Los Angeles.
Really? That's late. That's late for me
For a
some
90-year-old?
For a 90-year-old, that's pretty late.
Oh, get fucked.
The gun had to be 1 to 3 inches from the back of Kennedy's head. We're going to listen a little bit.
How did your office resolve some of the discrepancies in that trial between the medical reports, for instance, that Kennedy was killed by a gun 1 inch from him, and the eyewitness reports of Sirhan's position 3 feet away?
Oh, I don't think there were any major discrepancies. Certainly the jury didn't think so.
Interestingly, Carl Euchert, the maitre d' who was standing next to Kennedy, was escorting him through the pantry, literally standing between Sirhan and RFK, said the muzzle was never closer than 18 to 24 inches from Kennedy. Juan Romero, the busboy who shook Kennedy's hand just before he was shot,
he's also the sad man in the picture cradling that
very sad
dying RFK.
Yep, gave him his rosary.
Also, they're saying lithium grease in the chat for my chair.
Oh.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of that either. So Romero also reported a 2 to 4 foot distance at its closest point between Sirhan.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 feet versus 1 to 3 inches. 2 to 4 feet versus 1 to 3 inches.
Wasn't there a discrepancy about the position of Sirhan? There was a shot fired from behind Senator Kennedy, and witnesses said that he was never behind Senator Kennedy.
Well, a discrepancy. If somebody says 1 inch and somebody else says 2 inches, that's a discrepancy. But the jury didn't think it was a significant discrepancy, and neither did I.
For the record, the discrepancy is not between 1 inch and 2 inches, but between 1 inch and 2 feet.
What worries me more than a discrepancy in a criminal trial is where you've got all of the witnesses saying exactly the same thing. That's when you have to worry, not when there's a reasonable discrepancy.
Fucking asshole.
That's kind of an odd statement, right? Like,
I mean, these people are all very bad at their job and corrupt, which does not mean that Sirhan was innocent. It does mean that
if everyone saw the thing and witnessed it the same, that's when you need to worry. You should assume that when you have a majority consensus surrounding something, that maybe then that would be a piece of evidence that you could...
Right, and this is a majority consensus. I'm glad you brought that up, Byron, because there are literally no witnesses, not one single witness, out of the 60 people who witnessed the actual shooting.
Listen, you can't send me Canadian Tire links. This is
not a single witness says that Sirhan was standing behind Kennedy. Not a single one. And yet the conclusive autopsy report is that it was 1 to 3 inches behind his head where it was fired. Okay, so no
big difference.
And it is the consensus, like overwhelming consensus. Even this, we're hearing like some various differences. Maybe it was 18 to 24 inches. Maybe it was 2 to 3 feet. But it was not 1 inch, and it was not behind him, and that's universal.
Was it possible for Sirhan to get behind you and behind Senator Kennedy and shoot from behind?
No, this was completely impossible, because Sirhan was in front of me, and he didn't have no way to go behind me, to come behind me, to shoot from behind me.
You're sure?
I'm 100% sure, yes. Oh, yes. I had the gun after the second shot. I had his hand with the gun in complete possession.
So who was that? Was that the director of the second gun, Gerard Alkin?
No, that was Tim Chirac, and that was the maitre d' that he was interviewing.
Okay.
Yep, the guy that was escorting him through. And we talked a little bit about this gentleman a couple of times now, and he definitely is going to play a large role in our conclusion tonight. Thane Eugene Caesar, or Thane Caesar, or Thane Eugene. He's actually named under a lot of different titles if you look him up online, but he was a security guard that had been hired by the hotel to help with security that evening for the event. And he, in addition to being a really horrific racist, gave some really interesting statements. He spoke about what happened to him that evening and definitely talked about being behind Kennedy and having his gun holstered. In different interviews, though, he talked about taking his gun out, unholstering his gun.
Showing it off to his friends.
Right, like he's going to save the day.
He spun it on his finger as if he was John Wayne.
John Wayne, king of the castle. And then there are other places where he says, no, I definitely didn't take it out.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's really difficult to believe or to rest any kind of a conclusion, reasonable conclusion, on whether he took it out and fired it or whether he did not. So instead, we've got to lean a little bit maybe on somebody who has been more consistent with what they said.
Sure. Was this, I feel like a devil's advocate at even his, like, having stated that he pulled out his gun, because in the moment that would have sounded cooler and like more manly. Like in
totally. I agree.
I can't remember.
You did. And it's very much in line with who he is. But it wasn't even in the moment versus later. It was back and forth over, a decade that he bounced back and forth.
Yeah.
One of the other things that was very interesting that we brought up in one of the earlier episodes, but quick summary, Byron. The gun that he had that night was a gun that was similar to the gun that Sirhan had. Not identical, but it was similar. Okay.
They shot the same bullets.
Yeah, yes. And
I think we'll probably hear a little bit about that in a bit.
We are. He said that the record of him, because remember, these are like his personal guns, the records that show him having one, he said, oh, no, I sold that.
Yeah.
before the shooting.
Before the shooting. You found out that
And then we found out he actually didn't sell it before the shooting. He sold it after the shooting. And that gun had a very interesting lifeline where it went down to the south. Then it was stolen.
Didn't someone throw it in a body of water?
Somebody threw it in water, and then it was eventually fished out of that body of water.
Yeah.
So the point is, he definitely was in possession of that gun at the time of Kennedy's assassination. Whether he had it for sure that evening or not, we can't say 100%, but we are going to get back to that. Let's listen to a gentleman named Shulman who was there the night of the assassination and who describes seeing the man standing behind Kennedy pull out his gun and fire it.
I was in the pantry following the senator. He stopped and shook hands with several people and started to progress again. We were packed in there like sardines. There were lights and cameras and people and a lot of excitement. The senator just finished shaking hands with someone, and another man, I think it was the maitre d', walked up and took his hand. As we were slowly pushed forward, another man stepped out and he shot. Just then the guard who was standing behind Kennedy took out his gun and he fired also.
Okay, so that's pretty huge. The security officer standing behind Kennedy, which was definitively Thane Eugene Caesar, pulled out his gun and fired. Okay, so according to this guy. That wasn't the maitre d'.
This is just a witness.
He was another witness that was in the pantry right behind them. So he was from the vantage point where he could see Kennedy, he could see the security guard behind him, and he could see less of Sirhan, but he could see that Sirhan stepped out from the crowd to fire. Okay? More of his testimony also indicates that he never got within closer than 2 feet of Kennedy. In fact, I think he might have said 3 to 6 feet. But he very clearly stated that the security guard not only pulled out his gun, but fired. Now, he's certainly not saying that the security guard shot Kennedy, right? Like, that's not what he said.
Sure. Even though he said, it was Kennedy who was shot in the kind of the back.
He was shot from behind, right?
Yeah.
And he says that this guy fired guns or fired bullets. There's also, that statement is consistent with what he said the night of the shooting. Within like 10 minutes of the shooting, he said the exact same thing. He said, I saw a security guard take his gun out and fire. And at that point, he was actually saying it as though, like, I think this guy was trying to protect Kennedy. Okay? That could have been the case, too. I don't know.
It's kind of the theory that we had about the whole JFK whoopsie daisy from
and I don't think that's really what happened with JFK, but it is a theory. You don't think
it was a Secret Service person who slipped and shot?
No, I don't think it was a whoopsie.
JFK in the back of the head?
No, I don't think it was a whoopsie.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think it was a whoopsie.
Well, I think we're going to find out real soon, thanks to...
Oh, yeah, thanks to Mango Mussolini. Okay, so we now have a second gun, definitely in the pantry. We have reports that a second gun was fired, which certainly aligns with our other data showing that we have more bullets than can be accounted for with an 8-round gun. Because if we have 4 bullets hitting Kennedy and 5 other people injured with bullets.
Is this a revolver? Is that right?
It's a Ivor Johnson revolver, and it is 8 rounds.
There's one thing, there's a little hack I know, is that you can chamber around and then put a clip if it's a pistol with a clip. So that would have accounted for maybe 1 extra, just in case. But nope, it's a revolver.
Doesn't work here. Okay. Just to make sure everybody's on the same page there. So we've got a lot of interesting evidence, or at least data, lending itself to there being a second gun now. This doesn't necessarily state that it was a second gun that killed him, but it certainly seems that there were 2 different guns that had to be fired in order for there to be this many bullets, and in order for the stories about people seeing a security guard firing bullets to be true.
Have we ever thought that maybe someone shot some bullets in the room before, like on a different night, like when people are just like fucking around.
So, Byron, I'm not sure what you imagine
I've never worked in a kitchen.
Los Angeles Ambassador Hotel, super fancy ass hotel.
Yeah, but I mean, I've also seen the Bear, so.
The Bear is like Southside Chicago,
I know,
my
but I'm
friend.
just saying that stuff can happen.
Yeah, I think
it's intense back there.
No, I do not think that there were numerous bullet holes in the ceiling and door frames from a previous
encounter.
I don't think that's a very
with your drug addict brother and your shit for brain's cousin
passes the Occam's razor test.
It's close though.
I don't know that it does.
I don't know. Just sneaking them in where I can.
I know. Okay, so interestingly, in 2005, there was a gentleman who had been there on the evening of June 4th at this event who had kept recording after interviewing and recording part of the the celebration, the speech, but what I don't even know what I'm like. The words,
and your brains
the words are gone,
falling out your nose.
I'm sorry, it's so bad.
Yeah. What would we say?
He had been recording the speech that Kennedy had given after his victory speech.
Victory speech.
That's what I was looking for.
There we go.
He had been giving the victory speech after winning California. This guy had been recording. He didn't realize that he left the recording running as he was walking through the pantry behind Kennedy, and he caught audio of the bullets being fired. So early 2000s, this audio started getting significantly reviewed by a couple of individuals, one of whom was a pretty big audio video geek. Okay. He has a really extensive CV. His name is Van Prague. You're going to hear him in this clip explain a little bit of what this audio is.
This is
the only known recording of the actual gunshots was this recording made by Mr. Brzezinski, and which is somewhat ironic in that Brzezinski was not aware at the time he made the recording that he in fact was still recording. He had set up his microphone and his cassette recorder up at the podium area, had recorded Kennedy's victory statement. And after that had concluded, he came back up to the podium, collecting his microphone and his recorder. And as he was descending the stairs is the point at which the shooting began. He continued to walk into the entryway to the pantry as the shots continued.
You can't cough during the counting of the bullet shots, Kelly.
This is a poor
People
recording, and that's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. Thanks for coughing through the
I couldn't hold it anymore. I've been holding it.
So what he was doing was explaining the number of shots that could be heard with this audio.
And I think we can all agree that it's a little bit up for interpretation. What I've been trying to do, and Byron and I haven't been able to succeed with this, but...
What do you mean? I isolated the frequencies, right? That's what this is over here.
No. I know. I'm saying like with a very specific visual, like how many are there? Can we count it really clearly? Because when this was done back in the early 2000s, certainly the equipment was way better than it was in 1968, but I think it's come much further than that even between the early 2000s and now, especially for like home audio equipment just on your freaking laptop to be able to pull up.
We pulled up the spectrograph. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were able to see...
there's an example of that here.
Well, we were able to see two different frequencies.
Yeah.
And what's really important about that, and we learned this, Byron and I, by actually looking into it because neither of us really knew for sure, guns do have a specific frequency. Okay, so if it's the same gun being fired, it's going to have the same frequency. If it's a different gun, it's going to have a different frequency. And the two bits of evidence that are important in this audio are, one, the number of bullets, but two, the frequency of the bullets. And while I think we could debate whether all 13 of those are actual bullet sounds.
You can see the video at youtube.com/Frightday.
And that, again, is like an oscilloscope visual from like 2008 or something like that, okay?
I mean, he's using Cakewalk for sure.
Okay, I mean, it's old.
Old audio.
It's really old.
I don't know what he's using, but...
So...
I mean, when I did it, we took a different approach. We looked at Logic's, I think it's called histogram. I don't know. Maybe that's for photos. What is an audio histogram? But either way, it showed us different frequencies as well, in a different way. Histogram? Yes. Audio histogram. You remember when we looked at this?
Yeah, and that was where the...
Like this.
Oh... See, the one that I really liked was when you were able to pull with the frequencies.
Oh,
and isolate frequencies.
Which I was able to do that then.
But I mean, visually, not just audio.
It was a little different.
Yeah. So to me, I think we could have very viable debates about the number of bullets. The presence of two different bullet frequencies to me is what is really essential. Now, the audio experts who reviewed this, there were different analyses. This guy, Van Prague, said that he heard 13. Another analysis of this, supposedly like directly from the original recording, so like one generation removed from it, said they heard 10. Somebody else heard 12. There was one official analysis that did say 8, though it was by somebody with far less experience. And apparently it was either the year this was done or the year after. Van Prague presented his findings to the American Academy of Forensic Sciences annual meeting, and it was really well received. So, there...
Spectrogram, I think is what I meant to say.
Okay. There are articles out there of people very emotionally
invested in this,
saying that Van Prague's full of shit and that there's no way this could be the case. Again, and this is something that I keep running into in a lot of different areas of questionable information. I don't think that I could say Van Prague is 100% without any doubt correct that there were 13 shots. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that.
Well, let's hear it one more time. I don't think that we should move past it.
Okay.
I think we should.
The only known recording of the actual gunshots was...
Just so we can actually get a clear version of it here.
Oh.
I think I just left the screaming because I thought it was kind of cool and effective.
It's really terrifying.
That time I counted 8, but maybe we should do it one more time.
Well, again, and the number to me, I hear more than 8.
Which
but
I guess he will continue talking about maybe why you would hear.
I hear more than 8, but I also, it's the two frequencies which you can see on like audio screen that shows the frequency better than you can hear it. At least maybe other people's ears are that well tuned. I can't hear it necessarily that there are two frequencies.
More to the expert, I guess.
Over this period of the last 3 years, what I found was basically 3 different discoveries. The first discovery was 13 shot sounds over a little bit over a 5-second interval of time. There are 2 shots and then a pause of about 1 1/3 seconds, and then a flurry of succeeding shots, then a number of screams and shouts from that pantry area. Let's just look at part of the shot sequence right up to the scream.
And I don't know about you, but I hear like deeper bullets and then higher pitch bullets. Right.
Yeah.
And then like higher pitched ones. And that is not, I mean, like that actually isn't possible for 2 different frequencies to come from the same gun.
Yeah, we went back and forth a lot about distance and maybe the possibility of the door closing at a certain point.
Yep, and that can change volume. It can change other variables. It cannot change the frequency.
Yeah.
And that was because certainly not my area of expertise, but that was what we were able to find. Yeah, so we have now...
Interesting. AB says, if the bullets are the same make, same grain counts, if you have different makes, you will have different speed, different turbulence because of bullet shape, definitely different frequencies.
Yeah, so no offense, AB. There's a person that I trust more than anybody else other than maybe somebody who comes in with like a PhD in ballistics. my husband went over this stuff a lot. The bullets that were purchased.
That's the only one I have.
Sam's
for
Jams?
him. Yes,
Yeah, no, that's
sorry.
okay.
No.
The bullets that were purchased and the rounds that were, according to prosecution, in Sirhan's gun were all the same type of bullet. They did not have different types of bullets. Hold on just a second.
Uh-oh, what? You're pulling bullets out of your bag?
Actually am.
Please don't bring bullets into my home.
Nope.
Come on.
Okay, hold on.
All right. Jesus Christ. All
Okay,
right.
got some
Two
bullets.
222s. One's a hollow point, one's not.
Yep.
And then this is a hollow point 45. What do we got? No, 38.
Yeah, there's this one.
Oh, Jesus. And that's a 9mm.
Yeah, hold on, I think I got one more maybe.
That's an 8mm. No, it's a 9mm. I kind of know my bullets. That's surprising to me.
This one's another little guy.
That's a 22. All right. Well, no one's going to be able to see these.
Okay, I know, but you can. And now we have a YouTube channel, so I
But
figured
this is not what he's talking about. He's talking about different manufacturers of specific bullet types.
well, and I don't think he's even talking about manufacturers. I think he's talking about grain
different
counts.
makes.
Yeah, makes meaning like the type of bullet.
Well,
like hollow point versus regular would be two different makes, I
Sure.
believe.
Well, yeah, but I think I don't know what we're talking. We're not going to focus
Right.
on the chat, but
Right.
I think when he's saying that, because of course there's going to be a difference in frequency between a 22
And
a
that
9mm
I just wanted to pull
and
them
a
out. It
38.
wasn't
You just
necessarily
have-
about the.
you just have a bunch of
Well,
bullets.
because Sam
in your
was like,
bag.
okay, this is
Whoops.
this is this
Sorry,
bullet,
I
this is
wasn't
this
paying
bullet, this
attention.
is this bullet. But we were talking about like if you have 8 rounds in a gun and they are 8 bullets that were purchased.
How did everyone leave after that? People didn't like. Maybe
Nobody liked my bullets.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Did we get shut down for having bullets? Did we just get demonetized?
Nah, I don't think so. I think we're all right.
That'd be hilarious.
All right.
Kelly's got bullets.
But
so anyhow, they were the bullets that were purchased, which they have a record of, they have receipts of,
Yeah.
right?
Didn't
These were
they have
all
like
the same kind
There's
of bullet.
a situation where Sirhan was trying to buy different bullets for different
And
guns.
they didn't have
Yeah.
those bullets. He was with 2 people. They refused to let these, the owner of the gun store, go on, like, be interviewed to explain that there were 2 other people and describe the other people that were with him. They did not want that information.
Sure.
What are you looking for?
Nothing. What do you quit? Why? What are you doing? Let me do the production part.
Okay.
And don't eat cookie. That you just want an excuse to take a little snack break. All right. Well,
I did. So the 2 frequencies could not have been coming from the same gun unless another part of the story that we're being told is a lie. I guess is the easiest way. Been loading.
oh no, he just said he doesn't have a
Oh,
PhD,
boy.
but he's been loading various calibers and gauges of shells for many years.
Maybe we might have to get Sam on the phone with you.
All right, well.
He did a better job of explaining it than I did, but the frequency is not going to change between
Call
8 of the
Sam.
same bullets that have been loaded into a gun from the same batch being purchased. There's just no way.
Wait,
Fucker.
why?
He's probably asleep. I'm not even kidding you.
You think he's asleep?
I do think he's
Oh,
asleep.
all right. Well, okay.
I actually do.
Never mind then.
Would not be surprised. at
Sam, what
all.
if your wife was dead and I was calling to let you know?
It would be sad now, and
She
it would
had
be still
peanuts.
sad
She
when
had
he
peanuts in my house
figured it
or
out.
something.
Yeah.
Come on, Sam.
I also think it is important for us to talk about the guns because the Ivor Johnson is the gun that supposedly Sirhan had and fired.
Are you allergic to peanuts?
No, I'm allergic to bullets.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I've heard it's a cool gun. Don't get me wrong. You ever seen this thing? Kelly?
Oh, yeah, we have looked at it.
I think it's kind of fun. It's very slick looking gun.
So we have this Thane Eugene Caesar who has a gun, and then we have the gun that Sirhan, and by all accounts, Sirhan had a gun. Okay. These are some notes that Sam gave me, and it sounds like these were some important things. So, These were copper-coated hollow point .22 caliber bullets. All right?
God, I can't believe you killed him with the 22.
They should have been in fragments. Hollow point .22s are little, fragile bullets. They should have found them and weighed them to determine if they had the appropriate weight in lead and in bullet, but they didn't do that. The 22s are also very dirty. This was according to Sam. The leading on the barrel, so after shooting all day at the shooting range, there could have been leading on the barrel that could have changed the velocity and accuracy.
Sure, yeah.
That's another thing. This was a really cheap gun, and shooting that much could potentially get buildup in operating parts that cause malfunctions of some kind. But the fact that there were powder marks behind RFK's ear, there just isn't much powder behind a .22 caliber bullet, hollow or not. So leaving a powder burn really does require extreme
It's gotta be really
close proximity.
Yeah.
And that goes to what Noguchi
You ever
was saying.
shot a 22 caliber, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm actually really a terrible shot with small guns. It's like rifles that I can shoot really well.
I've never shot a big rifle. It's not really my thing.
Yeah,
I only shoot BB guns, pellet guns.
I don't
and
like
22s.
shooting any of them, but like if we're up at Sam's ranch, like that's where we go shooting.
Yeah.
Okay, so other like a 38 or larger caliber with more powder could leave that kind of a powder burn from more of a distance, but with a 22 it's got to be really, really close. Now, remember, I think we talked about this, maybe we didn't though. Thane Eugene Caesar did not want to take the witness stand, okay? The fact that he had pulled his gun was nowhere in the story or the trial. So we've already heard it from witnesses that certainly didn't have to dig very far to hear about. Witnesses that were in the official list of witnesses but never was entered into court, all right, or into the trial. There was nothing about this security guard standing behind RFK who, at least according to some accounts, pulled his gun. He was also a wild, awful racist.
Well, yeah, you know, he's...
But did we ever play that clip for everybody?
I don't think we did.
I don't know that we did play the clip, and I think that...
I think to get the full scope of this Thane Eugene Caesar... I mean, I don't want to be a Johnny Cochran here and distract from the real point of what's going on, but... It might be worth playing. Do you remember what number that was? You gotta say words. You can't just sit quietly. Like, let me look.
Well, the problem is I don't know that was one of the pieces that I don't know that we ever had in the pieces that you pulled, because it was one of the things that I think I thought I had tagged for you but didn't. Because looking at my notes here...
it might not be in there, huh?
Well, I can talk about him pulling his gun.
For some reason, I don't know why, I had a hold of his arm, under his elbow here.
Which arm?
Would be his right arm. And with my left hand, and I was pushing people with my right, because there was a lot that was, I would say, way over 100 people in the kitchen area. Who knows how many. And just as we reached the edge of the steam tables, the little Spanish busboy was standing there, and Bobby turned his head at an angle.
Juan Romero.
Right, to reach over, and he started to shake hands with him. And when he did, that's when the shots were fired. And the thing I saw first wasn't so much the noise, but with the flash. I got powder in my eyes from the flash. And I was a little behind Bobby, so I would say I was about 3 feet from the flash, because I looked up and seen the red gun flash. And like I said, I got a little bit of powder in my eyes.
It'd be more white than
when
red.
the shots were fired, when I reached for my gun, and this one I got knocked down.
Did you get your gun out of your holster?
Yeah, but it didn't do no good because I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
But anyways,
little
I got
slip
back
up
up and
there.
I had my gun out, but they already had him restrained.
Did you see other guys pull their guns after you pulled your gun?
And after we went out through the swinging doors, yeah, there was 3 of us had our guns out.
What about...
So now not only is he saying that he had his gun out, but the other security guards had their gun out too. And the idea that that wasn't part of the trial is pretty insane. I mean, again, even the shittiest defense attorney, how do you not bring that you know.
Yeah. I have kind of a raw clip of it here if you want to.
After Houghton's unsuccessful search for a right-winger in the pantry, security guard Thane Eugene Caesar was telling reporter Ted Chirac,
I definitely wouldn't have voted for Bobby Kennedy because he had the same ideas as John did, and I think John sold the country down the road. He gave it to the commies, he gave it to whoever he wanted to, he literally gave it to the minority.
Again, there are variances between Caesar's answers to the DA and to Chirac.
I'm not a Democrat.
Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with that. I was going down there just for the money.
Now, who did you vote for in November?
Wallace.
Pardon me?
George Wallace.
Have you worked actively into the third party?
I did over in Simi when I lived in Simi Valley. I worked for George Wallace Party.
Prior to June the 5th?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do exactly?
Oh, I pass handbills and get donations. That's not too much. I didn't have too much time to put into it, but I did put a little bit of time in it.
Did he admit to you that he had worked for George Wallace in 1968?
No. He gave $3, I think, to somebody that he knew that was working for Wallace's campaign. That was the extent of his involvement.
The people in Europe, I don't care where you go, hate our guts.
They do?
They hate us. They'd like to stick a knife in our back. And want to know why? Because they're tired of us giving them everything. They've had it crammed down their throat for so many years. It's just like the black man. The black man now for the last 4 to 8 years has been cramming this integrated idea down our throat, and so you've learned to hate them. And one of these days, at the rate they're going, there's going to be civil war in this country. It's going to be white against the black. And the thing I'd say is the black.
Oh, he goes even worse.
Oh, really?
I mean, me as an individual, I'm fed up. And I know a lot of people that I work with have the same feeling. It's just that we ain't had it shoved down our throat enough. But one of these days, it's going to be shoved too far, and then we're going to fight back.
Yeah.
First of all, I think the white
So
man...
that's a pretty sweet, awesome dude.
The weirdest thing is how close that is to like people saying they're shoving transgender in.
Oh, it's 100.
It's like the exact same thing.
It is exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. I'm sorry, I have to like just take a beat because that even hearing that man's voice gets me so fucking enraged.
Upsetting. Yeah, it's not good stuff.
Yeah. So we have a guy behind him.
I don't want to spoil anything. He's on your list of suspects here.
He is.
I don't want his shitty racist attitude to, necessarily cloud your judgment here, right?
Yep.
Before we hit the final beat of this, so, just because he's racist doesn't mean he's a murderer.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
He could be a murderer.
So we've got a few issues going on because the gun that was supposed to be tested for the trial.
Oh, wow. George Wallace wanted segregation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in 1968.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was the one who, like, when Brown versus the Board of Education and when they were desegregating schools.
Enough.
Like, they had to call in, National Guard. Yeah, that's fucking George Wallace.
Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah, definitely wrong side of history.
Yeah. You good?
The gun.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the gun was confiscated from Sirhan the night of the event.
Clearly, it put into evidence.
You would hope so.
Right? Yeah.
No, it really wasn't.
What? Excuse me?
Yeah, so actually, it was a brand new police officer who arrived on the scene who ended up leaving with the fucking gun in his pocket and wasn't really sure what to do with it.
Oh, you got flustered.
I
remember, what was your first day at Abercrombie like? Did you know how to fold shirts right away, Kelly? And who's blaming you?
I took it really seriously.
Yeah? You watched, the video?
It would be much better for my value as a human being if I could say no, but I took it very fucking seriously. It was very sad.
And we should actually hold police officers to a higher standard than a teen working in a mall.
Maybe, maybe not. I do know that we should definitely hold the people who are in charge of giving ballistics reports in a trial. We should fucking hold them to a pretty significant high regard because those are the people who hold the most important evidence, one might say. especially the ballistics detective. Okay?
It's like a very specific role in an investigation.
One fucking job.
Yeah.
Okay?
How do you do?
Oh, also, this is for AB. These were 125 grain Starfire copper jacket hollow points. They were all the same.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Manufacturer defects, though.
Yeah, manufacturer defects aren't going to account for two perfect sets of frequencies. One low, one high.
I don't know if that's true, but what if it came out slower? What if the powder wasn't consistent?
No.
All right. I'll trust Sam on this.
You should trust Sam. Yeah, Sam was like very emphatic on this. Behavior on impact of different bullets. Solid bullets are actually cheaper. I didn't realize that. They're used for target practice.
Well, it's
not
more
as effective for
difficult.
self-defense because they don't expand on impact. They don't leave a big wound channel. They're more likely to like go straight through something.
Why you know this without explaining it, right?
No. Like I didn't know any of this.
You know about hollow points versus like.
No,
ridges?
I know what a hollow point is, but I had no idea like what the purpose.
Of it. Oh,
Fuck no.
well, yeah.
I'm not a morbid like violent maniac like you and Sam. Fuck no, I don't know this shit.
I don't know if that's what.
Yeah.
We were. I just. Okay.
Okay, so Sirhan's gun had 8 chambers for 8 bullets. This is what LAPD Dwayne Wolfer. This is our next guy on the list of assholes. Okay. He gave a list in his report of accountability for what had happened. But interestingly, one of the pieces was testing the gun to see how it fired and to see, this is apparently a pretty common piece of forensic analysis. The LA firearms expert. 4 days after the crime, his initial findings, he says that they used a different gun for test firing.
It's close enough.
Yep. Firing test shots and matching with recovered bullets from the victims would make sense, but they didn't fire test shots from Sirhan's gun. They used a different gun.
Same model or just a .22 caliber revolver?
Close. Okay. Yeah, it was a .22. It was a .22 caliber revolver, and there's actually a number, so the serial number for the gun on a crime lab's test shot slip showing what was used, and it is indeed a different gun from the gun that was entered into evidence as being Sirhan's gun. People's Exhibit 55, okay? So yeah, of course we've got a problem here because we aren't even using for the forensic analysis the gun that was used in the fucking crime, supposedly. When he's called out on this, years later, it becomes an issue. During the trial, the judge and the defense didn't even give a shit. Had no concern for it whatsoever.
Reason for their thinking?
No, it wasn't even brought up. Like, this was an issue that wasn't even raised.
Because, I mean, it depends on what the purpose of the test would be. You know, is it determining what the damage of a .22 caliber hollow point bullet would cause? Or is it...
No, it's supposed to be specifically this gun and specifically, you know, the idea was to use the same bullets that were used, which is where something maybe said was...
Ideally, you want to be recreating the...
Otherwise, there's kind of no point. Like, why are you doing it? Because you can take any .22...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you're trying to visualize damage or something.
This is for specific ballistic analysis of the gun used, but not using the gun that was used. All right? So when it came up later, this idiot said, well, we thought it was better to leave the gun in custody of the grand jury. We didn't want to bother getting a court order to check it out. However, that also isn't true because there was a checkout slip submitted to get it from the grand jury. Okay?
Implying that they were trying to act as if they did check out the correct gun?
Well, either they lied and went retroactively and said that they checked it out, or they actually did check it out and still used a different gun for whatever reason. Who knows why? Perhaps it's because the gun that was actually used,
come on,
that fired the bullets that hit Kennedy,
don't say it,
was a different fucking gun.
Okay.
Which makes a whole lot of sense. Making this even more fun and following a really well-established pattern at this point, this test gun, the serial number that we have of the test gun, we can't figure out what gun that was because guess what? It was fucking destroyed.
Yeah, they melted it down.
They melted it in 1969.
I feel like we talked about this part.
In 1969.
I feel like we talked about the melting and the checking out of the weapon.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't remember talking about it, and I want to make sure that this one is very much locked in.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Which one of these calibers does Sam use for home protection?
I don't know. I literally, all I care about is that it's locked up and nobody can get to him.
Doesn't he have like 2 or 3 on him at all times?
No, I don't. He's really like dipped down on that.
Well, he used to have one on in the car.
I can't bring it up with him because then it'll probably back him back up. But I think in the wake of everything that's happening in our country, he's slowly accepted the fact that actually he needs to
consider home protection.
Well, no, I think he will always do that, but I think he's slowly accepted the fact that maybe he needs to be a bit less overt about his love for firearms, given the implications. I think he's...
I think he would blend right in.
I think he slowed his roll a little bit. Well, he does... What is it called? A chud? What is that? Fucking... Robert had a great name for it. Sam called that duck camo sweatshirt that you gave me. Oh, Sam calls it my chud blocker.
Oh, okay.
Because
chud
I can just blend right in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you tell him I think that's like that's the cool new direction?
I told him. He said it's fucking gross.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good. I love things that make him say that. It always brings me joy. All right, so we do have a situation where probably should have retested it once this all came to light.
Gun's gone.
Retested it with the correct gun, at least.
Yeah.
Right? And in fact, apparently that was absolutely a terrible idea. And this was the response by Younger, the DA. Prosecutor.
Would it be possible to arrange a simple retest firing of the Sirhan gun to clear up some of these arguments?
I presume that's something that Mr. Bush, the district attorney, is considering.
Would you think it'd be a good idea?
I won't tell him what to do. It's his problem now. I've got my own.
Mr. Bush, are there any plans at this time to fire the murder weapon and take new test bullets?
No, there is not.
But you are taking Mr. Wolfer's word on this, that he mislabeled that. How can you do this in good conscience without another ballistics test?
Wouldn't this put an end to all this speculation if you refired the gun?
Well, I don't think you're ever going to put an end to the people that want to have a two-gun theory. You'll never put an end to it.
Okay, well, maybe not, but you could put an end to any reasonable question if you actually test the gun that was fucking used as the supposed weapon. So, you guys, it's...
well, God, I'm going to go to bat for this guy. I understand what he's saying when...
No, he's right. People will always have questions.
Yeah, he's frustrated because you know me and my frustration with QAnon conspiracy theories.
Right, but
they continue to move the goalpost back.
But this is... No.
But
that doesn't work.
This is the line.
Right, and it's not QAnon. It's saying... When you are telling us that this person killed someone with this gun,
you need to
test that gun.
Yeah, I think, that's what I'm saying.
And we've now established that you didn't test that gun.
We're in front of the goalpost.
Right.
We're at the physical line.
So just fucking test the gun. It's not asking him to go through this extensive, insane volume of work. Just test the fucking gun.
Well, you also have to remember these guys are probably doing 25-hour weeks, like barbecuing with their friends, doing Shriners Club
so
stuff.
Much.
I
hate him so much.
I get it.
I hate him so much.
I'm glad you agree with me that people with conspiracies will rarely be satisfied with an answer.
Totally. But the thing is, your goal isn't to satisfy those assholes. Your goal is to satisfy reasonable people.
But the thing is, I hate to say this, like, the jury convicted Sirhan.
None of this was brought up. That's why, literally, the defense brought none of this up. The jury had no clue that they were resting their case.
And that's why people are advocating for a new trial.
The jury had no fucking clue that the gun that they were testified about, that the test results they were testified to, were the gun that was used.
It's not a failure of the prosecution, which
it actually isn't at all.
It's a failure of the defense.
No, absolutely. Here, though, once it's been brought up by the defense, after the original trial on appeals, then it is the job of the prosecution. Yes. And that's when they refused to do it.
That's when it came to light that they destroyed a bunch of evidence, right?
Well, that they destroyed evidence, that they lied about the gun they used, that they bullied witnesses. So it's not any of these by themselves, but the cumulative effect is that there's certainly a lot of fucking question about what happened. And I think at the end of the day, if you listen to the audio and you think about the powder burns, it's really hard for me to say, yep, I feel every bit as confident as I did a year ago that obviously Sirhan killed RFK. Nobody else was involved in it.
We talked
and
a
he's
bit
in prison.
About this in our MK Ultra series. Yeah, we had a completely different, maybe just not even an approach of what the truth could be. Right?
It's like there's enough data that the obvious conclusion I thought I had is now gone, and I'm interested in a more well-informed hypothesis, which I think certainly can include the possibility of there being something very, very different going on. So I am going to play a little bit of audio of, again, this Van Prague talking about our bullet sounds. He is going to talk a little bit about the frequency. And he's also going to talk about this.
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Looks like Canada just upset here. 3-2 in overtime to win Nations Face-Off Championship
Thank
game.
God. We should lose at everything now.
Yeah, that's kind of wonderful here.
Good for you, Canada. You fucking deserve it.
4 Nations Face-Off Championship game. Wow.
Good for you.
I imagine that's hockey, right?
Yes, it is hockey. It was a big deal. I even knew about that one, and I don't follow sports at all.
So that's exciting. But back to your setting up of this clip.
Yep. So we're talking about the speed of the bullets that are fired, okay? Because I think there is a really interesting point that the fastest shot of a gun expert firing this Ivor Johnson 35, which is the gun that Sirhan had, though probably not the gun that was used in tests for the trial. The fastest that they could be fired was 366 milliseconds between shots by a professional firearms folk, and some of the audio in this instances of less than half that much of a gap between the shots. So let's listen to what our Van Prague has to say about that, and then he also is going to tell us a little bit more about the frequencies.
The second discovery was that within those 13 shot sounds, there are 2 instances of what I call double shots. And those are 2 shots that occur so close together as to make it really very difficult to believe how they could have possibly come from a single gun. And in fact, last year when the Discovery Times channel hired a gun expert in California, rented an Ivor Johnson Cadet 55, which was the weapon that Sirhan had used, and had him under ideal conditions try to shoot it as fast as he could. And I guess the fastest 8-shot average was something like 366 milliseconds between shots. One of the double shots that I found was about 120, 122 milliseconds apart. The other was about 147, 148 milliseconds apart. So about 3 times faster than a gun expert, firing expert, was able to achieve under ideal conditions. And we must remember that at the time that the double shots occurred, Sirhan's gun wrist had been pinned down onto the steam table. If we consider the possibility of 2 guns being fired by 2 different individuals, then we could say that over that same period of time, we would have a random distribution in terms of the occurrence of the shots from those 2 guns, and the likelihood that we would have a couple of virtually overlapping shots occurring from those 2 guns. And that's in fact what we see in these 2 double shot occurrences.
Which is possible.
Totally. And again, I'm going off of the analyses that I could find. And there were analyses of a range of shots that forensic experts, whatever audio forensic experts could hear, ranging from 10 to 13. There was one that said 8, but that was a person who had less experience than the others. So I don't know. And then, let's listen to this clip about the frequency.
As we analyzed further and further, we found a similarity pretty much across the board amongst all of those shot sounds. However, we found one anomaly with 5 of the gunshots. One frequency presented at a higher level, at 1600 hertz, at one particular frequency. At a total loss for what that possibly could be coming from, we did an independent firing range test using 2 different guns. An Ivor Johnson Cadet 55, the same that Sirhan had used. The other one was an H&R 922, the security guard, who was positioned immediately behind Kennedy. In fact, had Kennedy's right elbow with his left hand at the time, and was carrying a gun that evening. Happened to own an H&R 922 at the time of the shooting. That particular model gun has the same rifling characteristics as the Ivor Johnson Cadet 55.
But has a different frequency. So,
did he have a lot of guns? That's the only question I would have.
He didn't.
Because, if you have one of every gun, then it's more likely that you're going to have a gun that matches that used in a crime. But
it wasn't, and this was a specific gun that he lied about.
Which is kind of sketchy. Yeah. That's not convenient. Okay. Just dotting my I's and T's.
No, it's good. And
dotting
again,
my T's.
We don't have, I don't think we've got 100% anywhere, but I think there's certainly enough information here. I am now personally of the belief that there is a higher degree of likelihood that it was not just Sirhan. Based on everything I have read, I actually believe that the bullets that killed him did come from Thane Eugene Caesar. Now, I'm not willing to say whether I think that was a plot or whether he was a bumbling fucking idiot that didn't know what he was doing and shot him accidentally in the chaos of what was going on. I think either one's possible. I do feel very confident that whatever was going on with Sirhan was something that involved a lot more than just Sirhan. The number of people who saw him with other individuals, buying guns, shooting guns, the day of the incident, the polka dot dress woman, it's just too much for me to disregard as inconsequential. And it's also very strange to me that none of it was followed up on. It could be because it was a conspiracy. It also could be, and Byron, you've brought up something like this before too. It's a much bigger pain in the ass to try to investigate and convict somebody if it's more than one person. Mm-hmm. It's a much easier job to do if it's just one dude that you're going to put behind bars.
Well, I mean, he's an easy
And if your concern really isn't public safety and your concern isn't justice, then it does make sense that you would ignore anything that would just make your job harder.
Well, if it's easier now to target and pin crimes on minorities, imagine what it was like, how easy it is to target someone like Sirhan.
Yeah, look at the defense attorney did nothing to help this man. And whether he's an angel or an asshole, I don't think that the circumstances under which he was convicted are an application of justice as our Constitution outlines. I think it's a really gross situation. I don't know, the horrors and chaos of what seems to run our country leads me to believe that there probably was a conspiracy regarding trying to get rid of RFK. I think that's very reasonable. I think that JFK was removed from office violently by a number of different parties in our country, and I think that this was a preemptive move, but I actually think what happened is
I'm going with Coen Brothers theory. I'm saying that we're all trying to do it. Just
could be.
You know,
it totally could be.
There's the polka dot dress. There's the dumb security guard.
And Byron,
Sirhan.
This is honestly probably the closest we're ever going to come to agreeing, because at this point, I think that most of the people running anything are fucking stupid.
Idiots. Yeah,
I think that there might be 5 people somewhere that understand what's going on with the UAPs. I don't think it's the globalists.
The elites.
I think it's mostly the cigarette smoking man. But I think there may be 5 people that know that, and everything else is being run like a fucking clown show. And I think that this was more than this failed jockey jumping out, pissed about the defense of Israel. And I think it was less than a beautifully elaborate, orchestrated conspiracy. I think it was a shit show.
I mean, let's both sides this a little bit. Joe Biden was actively dementing for years.
Yeah.
Like,
no, true.
And now we have broccoli-haired teens with weird screen names.
We have people who don't understand the difference between billion and million.
Millions, yes.
Literally. Like, we've had conversations about that
Tweet
at
Nation.
Our dinner table with our small children.
It's, it is an absolute shit show, Kelly, and I hear ya, I feel ya.
It's really sad. I love this man. I know that if I were an investigative journalist, this would not be useful. But I'm a Captain Kelly researcher, and I think that a lot of crazy shit happens surrounding RFK's demise. And most crazy is I now believe that he was the greatest white male politician we might have ever had. And I don't think we'd be where we are today if whatever circumstances aligned to result in his horrific death that evening had happened. If we had escaped that somehow. But I learned a lot. This was a very good eye-opening experience for me, Byron, and I'm hoping that we can return to, you know, like I said, some of the MK Ultra and maybe even a little bit of the Blavatsky angle. But boy, oh boy.
I'm looking forward to that, but I'm also, like, I know I mentioned earlier in the show, they're talking about declassifying JFK documents. They're also talking about declassifying RFK, Martin Luther King, and not Epstein.
Not Epstein, no, because that's where the Trump stuff is.
I don't think we need to fuck with that. I think
it's probably where that is.
And so, I mean, I anticipate some return to JFK, return to RFK, and return to COINTELPRO and Martin Luther King.
I love it. Yeah, I was hoping we might get a little bit of a nugget on RFK before we wrap this up, but I don't think it's actually until the first week of March that a plan is due. So hopefully we'll know more then. You guys, thank you for bearing with me and listening to all of this.
Thank you for that report, Kelly.
I will follow up on the frequency with, I'm going to try and do a little audio bite with Sam when I get home and send a little...
An audio bite?
Well, I'll just do like a voice memo. An addendum. I'll just send you a voice memo if I can get he might be half asleep.
Yeah, I might throw
that. I'm going to try anyway.
Could be even better. But
could be better. Subconscious, Sam.
We did it, Kelly. It only took a couple months.
Well, it took a few months.
We got some applause in the chat.
I'm mostly applauding for the fuck you, Trump. In the chat.
I see what you're reading there.
Yeah,
we're deep enough that I'll let that one. It's been long enough that that's another political
brings me
statement
joy.
we can
fuck you,
make.
Trump.
Okay, and
fuck you, Musk.
Plenty of that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Fucking asylum to the fucking asshole racists from South Africa.
I think Andrew Tate should be free.
Fucking Andrew Tate.
I think he should be fine.
Fucking god damn it.
We're going to return to some films before I talk about the mob.
We are.
I'm really excited about it.
And we aren't going to tell them about my truth or fake news for a while, right?
No, probably not. Okay. We got a couple. Right. Well, considering I think you're wonderful. This took about 4 or 5 months.
It did. I know.
So I can't in good conscience announce anything.
It was a rough period to be reporting on political assassinations of soul-crushing.
Oh, we all got through it.
Magnitude.
But I agree. It was a difficult time. We got through it, and I'm glad to have visited this because I you know me. I called him RFK Jr. like 9 times during the course of this report.
But you agree he was a pretty good guy, yeah?
Seems like it, but I also only know that he seemed to be well liked and then was murdered. So
that's the best Kennedy.
Well, and I heard from your mom that she thought he was a hunk. Is kind of all.
I guess that is true. I'm not trusting my mom on this.
Young people like him, and he got
admitted
killed.
He was wrong.
Sure.
And he took ownership of his mistakes.
And he cares about minorities, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, okay. He's fine. He's a good guy.
There we go.
Great. A wonderful report.
RFK, I miss you.
Wonderful day.
If you could haunt your son and get him to do some edits to his philosophies, that'd be great.
You want to watch The Monkey next week?
Oh, yeah.
Osgood Perkins film came out.
Yeah, I love that Osgood. I'll check out an Osgood.
I actually pushed back my advanced screening of it so we could record this episode.
I love that.
So thanks for...
Oh, sorry. Thanks.
Okay.
Apologize.
Why would you apologize for that?
Because I feel bad about that.
You don't need to feel bad about it. I appreciate you. About that. Don't. Kelly, wonderful time. Always good to be sitting here live at...
Look at those bullets.
Bullets on the desk. Twitch.tv/Audio Network, live.frightday.com. Watch it in video.
How I got Sam.
YouTube.com/Frightday.
He's down the rabbit hole because I let him talk about bullets.
At Frightday on Blue Sky and
so weird. That's not a thing.
Twitter and Instagram as well. Contact@frightday.com is our email address. Kelly@frightday.com. That's your email address if you want people to talk to you about this
I love
hunky
that.
hero.
Good man.
Byron@frightday.com is my email address. Contact in the desert. Consider hanging out with us there. Fright.
Come visit us. Yeah.
Promo code gets you 10% off.
It's like Coachella, but cooler.
Until next time, I'm Byron.
I'm Kelly.
Stay scared.
Woot!
You've been listening to an Audio Wool original, produced by Byron McKoy. Theme music is provided by Yawns. For more programs like this, visit audiowool.co.